I created a realistic CRM software simulation where learners can access a dashboard, see customer information, access a knowledge base, and take live AI calls. So let's take a call together. Thank you for calling Soul Sprint. This is Sabrina. How can I help you?
Yes, I'm calling about a return that was denied. I've been a customer here for over 5 years, and I have never had an issue like this before, and frankly, I'm not happy about it.
I'm really sorry to hear that, Karen. Thank you so much for being such a loyal customer for so long. I definitely want to make sure that I can help you with this situation in a way that we would both be happy.
Thank you. That actually means something to me. Most people I've dealt with today just started rattling off.
Okay, I'm going to end it there. So we can continue this conversation with Karen and talk to her. You saw that I was able to take notes while on this conversation, which is important when we're taking in all this information. So once I did that, ended the call, you saw the live call piece up here changed to call ended. And once the evaluation was complete, our close button enabled. So if I close this, there are 3 calls, so I can take the next call or I can end the simulation. I'm going to end the simulation so I can show you the end screen. So here we have it. We see that we took our call with Karen. In a previous attempt, I took a call with Melissa. We have not talked to David, so it says not handled. But the nice thing about here is if you've worked with the Devlin AI features before, you know that we have other information that we can collect from these simulations. So when I pressed view results, I can see that we failed because we didn't help her. I got a 40% or 40 out of 100. And then it's also displaying the feedback that we get from the AI based on our performance. Now, what you may not have noticed is that the demo I just showed you was actually launched from SCORM Cloud. So not only was this built in Claude Design, but I was able to turn it into a SCORM package. So stick around because I'm really excited to show you how I went from ideation, working with Claude, incorporating Devlin AI, and turning this into an LMS-Ready package. Hello, I'm Sabrina, and I'm one of the instructional designers on Devlin's team. I've been using AI for my eLearning project for the past few years, so when I heard about people experimenting with Claude Design, it quickly moved up on my list of tools to try. I had initially set aside like 2.5 days of my schedule to build this CRM software simulation, and was pleasantly surprised that I had a working prototype in 2 hours. And the demo that I showed you is honestly not that different than the first version that was generated. So I'm really excited about this video because in this video, I'm going to walk you through that original Claude Design prompt that I wrote, show you how I incorporated the Devlin AI voice chats. I'm also going to give you some insight into a conversation that I had with Devlin, where we made this from a prototype into a deployable learning experience. And then I'll also show you how I packaged everything for LMS delivery. So let's jump in. This CRM software simulation was inspired by a project that I built last year. So last year I built my first AI-powered project where the learner was a vet tech, talking with the client, helping them with their pet. And while they're in this situation, they can see some of the pet's information. And before that, the platform kind of looks like an employee portal. And I built everything in Storyline, and I'm really proud of what I built. But then as I started learning more about Claude Design, I was like, I bet it can build a CRM that has much more interaction, feels much more real. And then I can use these Devlin AI voice chats to bring those in and really immerse the learner so it feels like we're on a live call and we're navigating the CRM. So once I had that idea, then I moved over to Claude Design and started working on my prompt. I started by describing the CRM sandbox and telling Claude Design that there will need to be a space for the AI-powered voice chats from Devlin AI. Next, I described the flow of the interaction. I wanted a fake login screen to start that required the user's name. After the login, the learners would be taken to a clickable CRM. A notification appears to let people know that the call has come in, and then the call will be an AI-powered voice simulation stored in an iframe. So I added all of that information. My prompt doesn't end there. With people working with Claude Design and sharing their experience, I saw a lot of people reaching their usage limits in a short amount of time. So I wanted to make sure that my prompt was going to have as much information as possible so that I had to run it the first time and then just make iterations after. So that's not where my prompt stops. I added more information. I used a custom GPT that I built to create the conceptual business scenario. We'll link it down below too if you would like to also try it out and use it for your projects. While the GPT was creating the scenario, I went over to coolers.com to create a color palette for the business. I knew I was going to use black, white, and 2 accent colors, so I clicked around until I found something I like. Then I copy and pasted those hex codes into my Claude Design prompt. Then I went back over to the custom GPT, read over the business scenario, and then copy and pasted that information into my Claude Design prompt. All of that information is needed and will be helpful to Claude in helping us with our scenario. Then it was time to create my AI simulations in Devlin AI. And because this was a prototype, I was moving through it pretty quickly, and I used AI for a lot of the different pieces. I used the same chat from my custom GPT to give me information for all of the 3 customers who might be calling our conceptual shoe store. So here you see it generating all of those. At first, I wanted 3 options of customers to choose from and was just going to implement one of them into the scenario. But as I read the 3 different pieces, I really liked all of them and thought, why not just build all 3? So I went ahead and took all of that customer information, threw that into the Claude prompt, and then I updated my Claude prompt to say like, oh, instead of 5 customers, let's go ahead and add 10, and we're actually going to have 3 simulated calls. I took the summary of one of the customers and brought it over to Devlin AI, where I used the simulation generator to generate the sim. I adjusted a few pieces of the information, but overall the sim was ready to go. I did make sure to use the visual editor to change the color of the sim to match the business color palette. Once all the simulations were created, I copied the storyline voice URL for the simulation and added that to my prompt. I used the storyline URL because that is already formatted to be embedded. Next, I updated my prompt some more, and I told it that I wanted to have a knowledge base that would be accessible during the call. I also made sure to tell Claude that the voice call needed to be open the whole time, and while we're navigating other pieces, because I didn't want a learner to accidentally navigate away and end the call prematurely. I also talked in my prompt of how I wanted the ending to be, so saying that when a call ended, we're going to have that pop-up that gives the learner the option to either take the next call or end the simulation, and then I described that I wanted an end screen where we can see the calls at the end. I was also really specific about what I wanted the buttons to say, so restart versus retry and things like that. Again, giving it as much information as possible. After reading over my prompt a couple of times, I pressed send. One thing that I loved that Claude did was ask me some clarifying questions before starting the build. It asked what CRM elements I wanted visible, how much customer detail should be available, and where the AI call platform should live. In 13 minutes, the first version of this simulation was ready. I tested it out a few times and my mind was blown. If you'd like to test out the CRM software simulation that I built for yourself, we'll link it down in the description below. After I did a couple more tests, I was so excited, and almost immediately I messaged Devlin so that I could show him what I had just built in a couple of hours. What started as just a quick demo call ended up turning into a much more exciting conversation. After I showed Devlin the project, we'd started talking about the most commonly asked question that we've been seeing when it comes to Claude Design e-learning projects, which is, how do I get this into an LMS? And not just how do you get this into an LMS, but how do you report back meaningful data beyond just completion, things like score and pass-fail status. So as we were talking, Devlin opened Claude Code and started talking with his chat. And by the end of the conversation, he was confident that he could build a tool that would take HTML files and turn them into SCORM packages, making it easy for anyone who creates an e-learning in Claude Design to upload it to an LMS. But what really caught my attention was this tool that he was describing building would also be a bridge from the Devlin AI variables and Claude Design. So I could have Claude Design listening to those Devlin AI variables, and that's what gave inspiration for the next iterations, where I wanted to change this call ended status, change the close button so that it was disabled during the call and then enabled once the call ended. And where I wanted to not just show the results within the chat interface, but have this separate slide. So that conversation sparked the interest for all of these new pieces. So while Devlin went off to go build the HTML file to SCORM package tool, which would now become the SCORM Wrap tool, I came back to Claude Design and made a few edits. So changed things like some of the button titles that I wanted to be different, and just a few UI features. And then I went back into Devlin AI to work on changing my variable names so that they were all distinct so that it would be ready for the next step. Devlin was able to get the SCORM Wrap tool ready the same night that we had our conversation. So the next day I was ready to jump into Claude Design. And to save myself some tokens, I did create a new chat within my project. So here I am in Claude Design, and I'll just show you. Up here you can do new chat. So I have my first chat where I actually built the tool, and then this new chat where I added in the variables and the SCORM integration. So in this first prompt right here, what I'm doing is I'm telling Claude, hey, we're going to have some variables, and the AI simulation tool I'm using already collects these. So I just need you to listen for them, and we're going to display them. Then I also said, we're going to get this project ready for to become a SCORM package. And then I broke it up. So I said, here's the variables, and I used the same variable names that I used in Devlin AI. And all I'm doing here is telling it those different things I wanted to change. So that live call to call ended, the close button being enabled to disabled, how I wanted the end screen to look. And I'm telling it here, like specific things like that handle tag. So it's either going to say handled or not handled. And then these are the variables you need to look for. And then over here, I'm telling it that little drop down where we're getting like the pass, fail, the score, and the feedback. I'm saying, just describing it exactly and saying, here are the variables for each of these people, and based on this description I gave you. So what I'm doing here is really what you would be doing in Storyline, right? We would create a trigger and use some of those conditional pieces with our variables, saying like, change the state of this to this when this happens, if this is true. I'm basically just saying that in words here in Claude Design in my prompt, telling it those same things. And I'm just naming the variables instead of being able to just pick from a list in Storyline. All right, then I was ready to tell about the SCORM piece. So the nice thing is there's code here, but I didn't have to do any of this in the Devlin AI tool. So you can go to scormwrap.com, or if you're already in Devlin AI, look for the SCORM Wrap tab. Those directions and code that Claude Design needs are already written for you. So there are the prompts right here. If we show the snippet, so this is this first snippet is going to report it to the LMS. You just copy it, paste it into your prompt. If you're using any Devlin AI simulations or coaches, then you'll take the second one, copy it, and put it into your prompt, and then send it. So that's what you see me doing here in this part of my prompt. And then the embed here. The embed with the Devlin AI sims, is what's allowing Claude Design to listen for those variables that I have from Devlin AI over here to make those different changes that I'm asking it to do. And then the last thing that I did was I made sure to say like, oh, when we report to the LMS, since I have 3 simulations, let's just average the score of any completed simulations. So I made sure to give it all of that information. Sent in that prompt, it gave me back my prototype. I tested a few times, and then it was ready to publish. So I'm going to show you how I did that. Okay, let me scroll. So over here, you go to share, export, standalone HTML, and then press download. So the tricky thing is when you download it, it doesn't go to your downloads, it downloads here in the chat. So if you click it and it feels like nothing's happening, check out your chat over here to see what's going on. And then from here, you can download it. So you've downloaded your HTML package, and now to turn it into a SCORM package, super easy. So we're already over here. Again, you can go to scormwrap.com, or if you're in Devlin AI, look for that SCORM Wrap tool. All we do is that file, we just download it, we just drop it in here. So I'm going to take my HTML file. Now I have some options, so you can choose which format works best for your LMS. You can choose when to mark it complete. You have some different options here. You can choose your passing score. My simulations were set at 70, so I'll change it to 70 here. I am using Devlin AI simulations, so I'm going to keep that checked, and then generate. And that's it. There's a SCORM package. That's all it takes to turn your HTML file into a SCORM package. Now, if you wanted to take things further and test them, I was using SCORM Cloud to test things and launch from there, so you can take that there. All you do is just add your SCORM package in, and it's ready to go. What started as just a Claude Design experiment was now a fully deployable learning experience that was giving learners AI-generated feedback within the simulation and reporting their score and pass-fail to an LMS. So from experiment to something much bigger, much more exciting that all of you can use now as well. So to recap, we started with an idea for a CRM software simulation and used Claude Design to create the interface, integrated the AI voice-powered chatbots with Devlin AI, and then used the SCORM Wrap tool to make an LMS-ready project. The result was a learning experience where learners can go through these realistic customer scenarios while navigating a CRM and get feedback within the simulation, know how they did, and report all of that score and pass-fail to an LMS. What really was like my biggest takeaway during this was not just how fast it was to create this, but how much better it was. Just thinking back to a year ago, like that AI project I was talking about, it did take me a while to build. And like I said, I'm proud of what I built, but the amount of interaction and like realism that was created with Claude Design is so much different. So I'm really excited about the direction things are going, that not just can we build stuff faster, but we can build things better. We can create these better learning experiences. If you've been experimenting with Claude Design and you're wanting to get your projects LMS ready, then go to scormwrap.com and use that SCORM Wrap tool to get all of your HTMLs turned into a SCORM package. And if you have other suggestions for like Claude Design workflows, experiments, or projects that you'd like for us to explore, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your ideas. Thank you for sticking with me through this video, and I'll see you around.